Harlem Talk Radio brings you news and information at stimulating talk radio on the Harlem community. We cover business, education, entertainment, health, politics, technology, finance, and lots more.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Harlem Roots and Beyond on HarlemTalkRadio.com. This is Lydgia Pass, and I'm here with our special guest, Douglas Says. We'll be right back to talk about his new book, Muse, his history and fashion, and lots more after this commercial break.
Hi, this is three-time Tony Award winner Hinton Battle from your favorite Broadway shows like Dreamgirls, Sophisticated Ladies, Miss Saigon. But what I'm excited to talk to you about today is a wonderful new musical that I'm producing called Sisters. I absolutely love this show, and you will too. Based on stories from black women, Sisters is an uplifting musical journey that explores a woman's experience with humor, humility, and sass. Songs by artists like Billie Holiday, Lena Horne, Aretha Franklin, and Beyonce. Sisters will rock you to your core. The music, the moment, the message will be etched in your memory forever. So start texting, tell your friends, get on the phone and order your tickets now to see Sisters at the St. Luke's Theater. For tickets, visit telecharge.com or call 212-239-6200. Sisters.
Welcome back, everyone, to Harlem Roots and Beyond on HarlemTalkRadio.com. My name is Lydgia, and welcome. I'm here this evening with my special guest, Douglas Says, who's a fashion designer and an author, and we're going to get into some great conversation about his work and some of the great things he's done. And just to give you guys an early smile before we say hi to Douglas, I did ask the designer how one would know his work outside of the label, and he's going to give us that answer in a moment. A little cheat, right? So when you think you're getting a designer's work and you may not be getting what you paid for. Welcome, Douglas Says.
Hello. How are you this evening?
I'm good. And you?
Good. Well, in the beginning when I was doing, because I'm known for jersey dresses. So when I first started doing the jersey dresses, I had a certain type of marrow machine, which had a straight stitch and a marrow stitch. And very often when you would put it on, the straight stitch would pop. So I would have to reinforce the stitch. So the early stuff, like from 1990, has that type of stitch. And then eventually I found the proper machine, which is only for jersey knits. And so once I did that, it became kind of signature. But then everything has a band around it, which holds in, the neckline, the sleeves, the waistline. In the beginning, again in the 90s, because I was still trying to find my way and trying to find out what worked and, what looked, because it's very difficult when it's just you, the dress form, and the fabric, because you don't have any feedback from somebody telling you, I can't walk, it's too tight, or whatever. So I had to learn, I had to take all those knocks, and I had to learn, when I first started doing the dresses, my intention was for them to be like floor length, but I wasn't using four-way stretch, which I didn't know about then. As long as it stretched, I thought it was fine. But I would later learn that you need four-way stretch, so it needs to stretch in both directions, lengthwise and widthwise. If it only stretches lengthwise, then it's not going to stretch for your hips. And if it only stretches for your hips, then it's going to take up the length. So the wider your hips are, the shorter the dress is going to be, So I was cutting out dresses to be long, but they were pretty much to your ankle, when you put them on. So I had a lot of learning to do, And, then later, this is like the 90s now. 97, end of the 90s, and I moved into a studio space, and it just so happens that other designers started to move into that space, and then they started to call it like the Newark Fashion Center. So it's probably about 8 of us in this building, and I probably was the more seasoned one, not the oldest, but the more seasoned one. So they looked up and, whatever. I tried to, give them advice or whatever. But after a while, it just seemed like everybody stopped doing what they were doing and started doing what I was doing. Because I guess with all of them looking on, they figured, well, whatever he's doing is selling, so I'm going to do the same thing. So after a while, it started to look like, almost the same thing, but not. Because you could tell mine, if you can hold mine up and it has a shape. The dress has a shape. It's almost shaped like a guitar. One of my clients once told me that, which was one of the femme queens, and she says, Douglas, you're fierce. You make dresses and the girls get pumped just to fill in the shape of your dress.
That's something.
Yeah, that's
now,
crazy.
family, for those of you listening in, when Douglas says femme queen, okay, for those of you who don't know, he's talking about gentlemen who dresses ladies, okay? So, well, I know that's controversial.
Yeah, a femme queen is actually, see, I wouldn't say drag queen. I wouldn't say, it's a transsexual. I mean, she's making the change. She's, maybe
transitioning.
2 steps. Exactly.
Yes.
Transitioning. So, yeah.
What would Douglas Says woman look like? Because when we talk about jersey dresses, we're not talking about a woman who is perhaps a larger size woman, although larger size women are wearing jerseys. I shouldn't say that.
This is true.
And wearing it well, by the way. But is there a signature woman that goes with the signature?
Well, for many years, the signature woman was pretty much a model, or a woman that worked out, and she delighted in her curves. So therefore, we were a perfect marriage, But as I've gotten older, and so has my women, so, when you get older, you spread a little. So most of my girlfriends who were modeling for me, they got bigger. So my sizing had to get bigger as well. So eventually I started to do something that I thought I would never, ever, ever do, which was plus size. And how that happened, how it came about is my girlfriend Rosemary on the cover, she got a store and she put my clothes in the store. And the traffic was coming, they liked what they saw because the stuff is colorful, body conscious. But the people who were coming in, the women that were coming in, they couldn't wear the sample because the sample was model size. So I told her, okay, well, I'll do a couple of samples just for the store, and we'll see how they go. So God is so awesome. This is how he planted the seed, for me to do this collection. And so I started doing, first I had to figure out the sizing, what was the perfect size for me to do, So my sample was like a 16-18. So once I did the first sample, and then a woman happened to come in with another girlfriend of mine, and she looked like the perfect size, so I asked her to try it on, and she did, and it fit perfectly. So then I was able to go forward, with it. And Rosemary had a partner in the store, and she and I fell out before the collection was finished. But I went from doing things for the store to it became like a fashion show. And that's what I did. So I had this big show, which was called Plus You, and that's the name of the line. It's called Plus You. And it was a major success. It almost seemed like it canceled out everything I had done before that, because people were starting to call me like a plus size designer, and and it was just everything was plus. Then I did Rip the Runway, then I did Thurgood Marshall, and and I'm just like, but wait, I don't want to do that. Yes. I want to do this,
Yes.
But because I never really got to do the collection that I actually wanted to do because there was no money, I actually worked with what I had, what fabrics I had, what fabrics I can get. But I wasn't really able to expand it like I wanted to. But then once I did everything, like when I did Thurgood, I added some things. When I did Rip the Runway, I added some things. So, it got to be more of the patchwork and the color blocking, the things that I'm signature known for. But I still wanted to go in a little bit deeper. You know, like I still haven't, like I did a couple of pants, but I'm mostly like a dress kind of guy.
Dress guy,
you know?
right?
So, you know, but it got a lot of attention. I even got like an award from like one of the organizations. But I don't, like they didn't buy, you know, they clapped, you know, they called you to do more shows, and, you know, this organization was hailing you and this one was hailing you, but they didn't buy. And if you don't buy, then there's no encouragement for me to do it. Yes. Especially when it costs more to produce, because you've got to buy more fabric. You're using more fabric. Yes. You know, so I'm not really it's custom now. It's only custom. You know, you can get whatever I do or whatever you see that I've done in your size, but it's a custom made order.
No, beautiful, beautiful. So, family, if you're just tuning in, we're here with Douglas Says, who is a fashion designer and author, and we are actually talking about his work around Plus. He has a line that he created called Plus You, and right now, you know, if you want to get anything, if you're a size, I guess 12 and up, what's considered plus? Is it 12?
Well, yeah, they do
12?
consider 12 plus, but yeah, so I guess, like, well, again, my sample was 16, 18, but, you know, you have, my mother was a 24, like, forever, you know, and she always was trying to get me to make things for her, but I wouldn't at the time. But I mean, she got one or two things for me, but, you know, yeah, I was very limited in my creativity at that point. So,
thoughts about, since we're talking about plus size, so the average American woman is of a certain size. It's certainly not 0, it's certainly not 2.
True.
Most fashion designers work within a certain size.
Exactly. Do you know why they do that?
No, you tell us. Tell us why.
Well, first of all, it's cheaper. It's less expensive. I mean, you figure in straight fashion, you know, straight size fashion, it's a size 2, right? The girls are wearing a size 2. It takes no fabric to do that, you know. So you can kind of go crazy creatively, you know, in a size 2. But figure that you're doing a plus size collection and your sample is a size 18. That takes a lot more fabric. And figure that the fabric is $20 a yard. You know what I mean? So it cost a lot more to produce, you know, the full figure collection. And but when I did it, I wanted to give them the same thing that I give my straight collection. I wanted to do, and eventually, like after I did that show, I did another show where I put both of the girls in the same show. So that show was called You, Me, and She. So you know, and basically you could see sister dresses, you know, coming down the runway. So you had your straight size and you had your plus size, you know. So that was pretty cool, you know. But again, they didn't buy, you know.
And I want us to explore that a little bit more as well, for people listening who may be budding designers, or, you know, they see the expense, they go, oh my gosh, you know, how am I going to make this work? And people love clothes. You know, they love it, but they don't factor in how much it really costs for someone to make something for them.
Exactly.
Right?
You know, I think one of the saddest things is that, well, I consider what I do an art. You know, it's almost like an investment. You know, if you were to buy a painting for your wall, or if you were to buy, you know, it's like it's a piece of art, you know, it's one of a kind. At the most, I mean, since they're custom pieces, at the most it's only ever going to probably be 3 of something, you know what I mean? So why wouldn't you pay for it? And bigger problem for me was that I was really successful doing prom gowns for several years. So you're going to tell me that a 16, 17-year-old girl can pay more for her dress than you're willing to pay, and she's only wearing it for one night, and you're going to get full mileage out of this dress?
Yes.
So it makes no sense that you're going to hem and haw and try to Jew me down, excuse me,
And we're gonna. And I'm so. You know what? You're easy to talk to because you're leading me right where this is perfect. Perfect segue for me, because Black designers have always had that challenge where you would go and you would spend, I don't know, $1,000 on a dress from a white designer, but a Black designer comes along and the dress is $800, even down a notch, $800, but you don't feel as though the craftsmanship is worth it, or the name, or the brand.
Come on, brother.
No,
sister.
that's
yeah.
Let's talk about that. The idea that your work doesn't stand alongside other folks' work.
It's crazy and it's frustrating. Really, it is. But like, there's a store in the village called Lydgia Pass, and their things are very expensive. And sometimes you would have somebody come into my shop and they would say, "Oh, I was going to buy this dress from Lydgia Pass, or I bought a dress last week from Lydgia Pass." But at the same time, in the same breath, they want to talk me down, try to talk me down, But I'd rather you get to step in than, for me to do, especially after you just told me you just spent $1,500 for a little simple dress that's not even well made. Oops, excuse me, did I say that?
You did.
That's
fine. Lots of stuff are not well made, but depending on the person's name and the label, or what a person perceives that to be.
But what's really funny? I probably shouldn't even say this, but more recently, somebody asked me to go to meet the people at Lydgia Pass because they were looking for a sample hand, and I'm not a sample hand. I sew, but I'm not a sample hand. But I figured, hey, well, extra money, whatever. So I met with the guy. He liked my work, but he didn't want to pay anything. But he you could tell that he was really excited about the work. And because he was pulling out stuff, well, could you give me this in black, and give me this one in gray, and give me this one, But I'm talking to myself the whole time because customers are coming in, and I hear him quoting prices when they're asking, and I'm like, but you want to pay me what? And I said to him, really and truly, I can't do this. He was like, why? I said, because I wouldn't be happy. I said, first of all, I'm not making any money. I said, I make more money on my own doing this. So why would I do this for you? My thing, this is my new thing. What's my motivation? What motivates me to do this? So no, that was a no-go.
Can people find your dresses in stores like Macy's and Bloomingdale's and Saks, or is it just they have to come to Douglas Says and get your work?
Yeah, unfortunately at this time it is just custom, and 9 times out of 10. People either find me on Facebook, or you can Google my name. I'm Googleable. Or I have a website, which is www.douglassays.webs.com. And yeah, I'm pretty much on everything. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Cool. We were speaking off air about early influences.
Yes.
And you mentioned 3 cousins.
Yes.
Without going into the full story, talk about what those influences were, because I know you mentioned briefly was the merging of the music and the fashion.
Right.
Talk about that.
Well, my cousin Angelo, he to me he signified music, jazz. It was there's always been music playing in my world. Especially at my aunt's house. There was always music playing. I really wasn't a part of the whole Motown part, because I was young. But with my cousin Angelo and him being, into jazz, so there was always George Benson and Grover Washington and Phoebe Snow and Brenda Russell and, all of those people. And when I got older, I went looking for, what's his name? Bobby Humphrey, Bobby Humphrey, which actually I met her this year. Was it this year or last year? last year at an event that I had closed at. So that was really like, oh, she's so little.
She's teeny.
Really little.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yes.
wow. And I still
Such
have
a big
her albums.
musical personality,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Right.
yeah. And I still have like not all, but quite a few of her albums. I mean, I even have like, I play albums actually. So I have like Josephine Baker, Betsy Smith, Gertrude Mulroney, Diane Carroll, who else? Sarah Vaughan.
All fashion icons, by the way, family listening,
Yes,
right?
yes. Well, back then everybody was fashionable. I don't know where we dropped the ball, and our pants are sagging, and we got these oversized T-shirts, and everybody's a clone of each other. There's no individuality. It's ridiculous.
It is.
It's crazy.
It is. Talk about, we talked about this off air, the merging of music and fashion. We talked about Grace Jones, but
Yes.
you mentioned another person that...
Exactly. Well, because, and really I only had that like aha moment, sitting here with you, is that Josephine was the first one. Josephine Baker was the first one to successfully merge music and fashion. She was a fashion icon. She was wearing couture clothes, from Christian Dior and Yves Saint Laurent, in the 20s and in the 40s, and she was a singer, an actress, a mother of 12. Josephine Baker was so beyond our thinking. She was amazing. She owned a castle. She
Isn't that
owned a
something?
village. This is a black woman in the 20s,
Yes.
in the 30s. She was one of the richest black women in the world at one time, and then she lost everything. But she dreamed big and she lived big.
Lived big.
She was an amazing woman, and she set the standards for a lot of art. If you speak to Diana Ross, that's her role model. If you speak to Vanessa Williams, that's her role model. If you can obviously see Beyonce, that's her role model. It's amazing, but it's sad because she died in 1975. I didn't find out about her until like 1981. And I'm like, well, where was I? What was I doing? I was in school. Why didn't they have this in the history books?
Yes.
Why am I learning about Christopher Columbus, who discovered an already inhabited land? I don't get it, but
Yes. I would love to talk about this with you. We've talked about so much off air, but with respect to the ball scene, you've worked with so many people who were superstars in their own right in the ball scene.
True.
One person stands out for me that's in the book, a Muse, that you've written, is Tracy Africa.
Yes.
Tell me how you met her and how that collaboration started, because I know it was a long-term collaboration and friendship.
I have to say this first, because my nephew lives in South Carolina, and he was up last week, and he says to me, Uncle Dougie, he said, you know what? He said, I just found out that Tracy's famous. And I started laughing. I said, but you told me that before, because he actually called me one day, and Tracy was sitting next to me. We were on my computer, and he says, I said, Tracy's here. And he was like, oh, he said, I just found out that Tracy's famous. He said, you tried to fool me. Y'all tried to fool me. I'm like, what are you talking about? Nobody tried to fool you. Nothing is your business, And, it's amazing. He's 22, and he's and what happened was he came to my show in February. He surprised us and came up, and Tracy did makeup at the show, and she was backstage. So, he came up with some friends of his, and he has a friend who's gay, and his friend was with him, and his friend was like, oh my God, you know who that is? And he's like, yeah, that's Tracy. He's like, that's Tracy Africa, and that's how he found out, who she was. But with Tracy, I knew Tracy from fashion, in Jersey, because we're both from New Jersey. And when I first met her, it was around clothes. She loves clothes. She absolutely loves clothes. She loves fashion. And I had only ever really heard her name whispered, There was always this aura of mystique around her, always. And like she was like a ghost. Like she would just breeze into the fashion show, walk and leave, you know, because she would only come for this one designer in Jersey, Dow Grundy, and you know she'd walk for him and then she'd leave. So you know, eventually our paths crossed, and you know we started to we didn't start to, like, this is 79 that we first like really like got hooked up. But we started to really hang like in 87. And literally, oh man. Her sister, I ran into her sister at this bar that we used to go to downtown Newark called Murphy's. And which was the only gay bar that was left, but now it's no longer there. So, and I ran into her and she told me, you know, that I should go and see Tracy and, you know, go hang out with her, because she's really kind of like a recluse. You know, she really doesn't, you know, socialize with people, you know. So, you know, I went and I didn't really know her from, like, at that point. I don't know why Gigi thought, you know, you should go. And, you know, so anyway, I went. And then, you know, we started hanging out, and I was there every day, you know. We just, you know, it was just fun, and just she was funny, and you know, it was amazing. So I started to get her out of the house, you know, like, come go with me here, come go with me there. Let's go to Sally's. Let's go to, you know, whatever clubs were around at the time. And you know, she would come, and it would be such a it's always it's just amazing. Like when I'm with her, the reaction that the bald kids or the, you know, the gay kids have when they see her, and it's just like, you know, they're in awe of her beauty, and you know, and I mean she's so cool, she's so down to earth. She'll give you the shirt off her back, she really will. Just great people, just really great people, and you know, we're family.
Beautiful thing. So, family, we are here with Douglas Says on Harlem Roots and Beyond, and we're going to actually start talking about his current book. There's a new book on the horizon. We're going to talk a little bit about that. But Muse, yes, is the book. Talk about how this came about. We're going to go into Muse in segment 2. We're wrapping up segment 1. And hold tight. We'll be right back after this commercial.
Okay.
Welcome back to Harlem Roots and Beyond, family. This is segment 2. Be sure to log on to segment 1, where Douglas Says and I introduce the show. Please check him out. He is on Facebook. You can go to douglassays.com to find him. You can find him on Facebook, DouglasSays. Easy, right? Just Google Douglas Says. Yeah. Pretty easy name. Before we move into the book Muse, Douglas, just wanted to talk about, you know, the importance of maintaining one's creative control. And what does that really mean with respect to sales and getting your name out there? Mm-hmm. Talk to young people, or not so young people, who want to get into this business, that think, you know, as long as someone's calling me and I'm going, well, I'll get paid.
You know why? You know, I think, you know why there's often a changing of the guards?
Look at me. No, Douglas, why?
Okay. Well, basically, because when you become sophisticated in whatever endeavor it is that you're doing, whether you're a model, whether you're a designer, whatever it is, whatever art form you're doing, when you become sophisticated, that means that you've become knowledgeable. They can no longer pull the wool over your eyes. They can no longer push you around. They can no longer deceive you. They can no longer fool you. So I'm not gullible. I'm not going to do something for nothing. For me, it's fair exchange is no robbery. If you want me to do something, you have to pay me to do it, because I got to keep my lights on. And it's work for me to pack up clothes, bring clothes to whatever location you're having a show, showcase my clothes. 9 times out of 10, they're getting more abuse in shows than they would if I sold them, because hymns are being kicked out, they're being funked up, you know, they're being stolen. Some things I don't even get back, you know, and it's just not worth it. 9 times out of 10, it's never my vision. You know, it's if you have these models that are not models, they're just people who want to do a show. They're 5'2", they're wearing a 26, a size 26, not waist 26, you know. I can't dress you, you're stretching out my full figure clothes even. You know, it's just not realistic. And basically, I mean, I get it. I see what the promoters who are doing the shows are doing. They're just trying to sell tickets. So anybody is welcome to do the show. But they need to be more responsible and get clothes for those people. When I do a show, I mean, I'm an artist. And to quote Erykah Badu, and I'm sensitive about my shit, you know. So therefore, you know, I have a vision. You know, I mean, I dreamt this, you know, from sketch to finish. This is my baby. So I'm not going to just throw it out there on anybody and look any kind of way. That's why I do my own shows, so that I can get my vision across. You know, it's one thing for me to do a show that you're paying me for and I'm showing 15 looks. But you, as the customer or the consumer, you really don't get me in 15 looks. You can get me in 50 looks if you're sitting at my show. Then it kind of makes sense. Oh, I see that could be worn with that. And that could go, and oh, I could wear that with it. You know, you get it. You know, but when you're seeing a hodgepodge of stuff from me and 10 other designers in a show, you know, mostly fashion shows are just for entertainment anyway, you know. So if you're going to be entertained, I should be paid to entertain you.
I love it. Family, we're with Douglas Says, fashion designer and author. And one of the things before we go into a Muse is, you know, models are the cornerstone of a designer's vision, right? They take it, they put on the garment, and they show it for you. Talk about your work, your collaborations with models, your very close collaborations, which are in the book.
Yes.
And for people who call themselves models, it's interesting to me because every other person on Facebook is a model. Yeah. And I said, no, you just may be pretty, right?
Right.
All models aren't pretty.
Yeah.
There's a way about a model. Talk about that. What is a model's personality? What do they look like? How do they move? Give us a sense of that.
Well, you know, there are levels. You know, there are levels in everything. You know, you have A, B, C, or 1, 2, 3. You know, and that one level is probably what you call supermodels. And then there's that second tier, which are girls who work every day, but they're not household names. And then there's that third level, which is usually something you find in the local communities, you know, these little fashion shows where, you know, there may be 5'2", there may be, you know, everything that I said before. Those girls, I don't really want to do shows with, you know.
Because they're not professional. Is
right.
that,
I mean,
right.
Bottom line, okay. Bottom line, you got to have a good canvas if you're going to paint, you know. And if you don't, and you know, I have to say this because, you know, I also train models as well. But I have to say this. The problem that I find with African-American models is that, first of all, they're trained by the wrong people. Whoever is training them, whatever gay person that's training them, is showing them the wrong things to do, you know, and they get stuck. These girls get stuck and they can't move forward. And that's the kill. As a model, you are supposed to be a chameleon. As a model, you are a canvas for the painter, for the designer to paint on. You are supposed to be able to be whatever the designer needs you to be. But they can't do that. You can't come to me and say you're a model and you have 6-inch nails and you don't want to cut them. You can't come to me and tell me that, you know, this is my look, this blonde hair, you know, and you don't want to. No, you're supposed to be pliable. You're supposed to be like clay. I'm supposed to be able to shape and mold you to my vision. I am the artist. You are the canvas. but they don't get that.
I think there's, I guess, shows like America's Next Top Model gives a perception, right?
I think it's helped.
It's helped a little,
you know,
right? With the
it
perception of what a model's life looks like. But prior to that, if you're not in fashion, you just think, oh, I'm cute.
Yeah,
or I can walk in heels.
Everyone
Everyone always told me I was cute. Or I may be able to walk in heels. Or I may be slim. And so these things, and then like you said, well, everyone always said I was cute, but you never worked with a designer before. Really, you just were hired for a show, and you showed up, and you got dressed, and you walked.
Exactly.
When you speak about a top-tier model, like a supermodel, many of us grew up on the Naomis and, all the big girls, the Kelly LeBrocs and all those girls, and Imans. What would you say to young girls today who don't do their homework to know, you know what, there was a whole cacophony of women before you?
Well, you know what I think is really, really sad, and I don't know why it is, but I've taken up the banner to be this archivist kind of sorta or something. But I think it's really sad that they don't know who existed before them. There was more before Naomi and Tyra. Yes. There's so many black girls that that have laid the platform for these people, and designers as well. There's a host of designers, and sadly they can't even name them, especially the designers. They don't even know who Willie Smith is, or who Patrick Kelly is, or who Byron Barnes or Byron Lars, or they don't know Byron Barnes is a makeup artist actually, but they don't know who these people are. And I think it's really sad because once they're gone, well, once I'm gone, you know what I mean? There won't be someone like me to give you that information, And if it's not written down, because what I find really, really sad is that, like when Willie Smith passed and Patrick Kelly passed, so did their companies. It's just done. It's finished. And I think it's horrible that you walk into a bookstore, which are very few and far between these days because everything is on the computer, but you can't find anything on Patrick Kelly or Willie Smith. And both of them, their histories are so rich with fashion. But once they died, the company closed. And of course, he, the owner of the company, he's not concerned with that anymore because you're not making him money anymore. So he's not going to flourish your image. They didn't even bring in, look at Bill Blass. Bill Blass died. They brought in like 3 different designers already. Look at Halston. Halston died. They keep bringing in designers to keep the brand open.
Brand, right.
But look at Patrick. Look at Willie Smith. Nothing. And I think the only black designer that you can go into a bookstore and find his book is John Haggins. He has a book. And the only second black designer is Douglas Says. My book, to me, is about me leaving my footsteps in the sand, my footprints in the sand. I want to be remembered for something, long after I'm gone. If there's not going to be, I would love to have an institution set up, like a museum, a place where designers can donate their garments or their tear sheets, their magazine, all of that, some place that houses that. So that when we are gone, here's our history. Nobody else is going to be concerned with our history, so we have to be. But we're so busy in the trenches trying to survive, we never get to the point where we can just say, well, hey, why don't we just do this and get our feet firmly up on something. That's why on my Facebook page I have I don't know if you noticed, there's a whole section which is called We Are Here, the private groups. So the We Are Here, it's only designers that, are on that page, and we share information, or it's my hope that they share information. Most of them just keep posting kind of crazy stuff, but what can you do?
So the competitiveness in the business, since it's very few people of color in design, how sad is it that there isn't that brotherhood or sisterhood or family feel? Or is it like that with a few of you?
Very few.
Very few.
Very
Everyone's
few.
out to get theirs and make their name.
I don't think people really share what, the information that they know or that they have. And that's what that page is set up for people to share. Or I mean, it's a lot of older designers in it. So even, and some younger ones. So therefore you share your information with the younger ones. But I don't even find that many are even contributing anything. They're just a part of it, but they're not really contributing. But I think, because I'm always trying to get the banner going that we should be, unified. The only way that we're really going to get past this is to do something different. We can't keep doing the same thing and expect different results. I keep telling them, like I'm showing on February 23rd at the Newark Public Library. Now, I've already booked my date. And my best friend, Linwood Allen, he's going to also show on the 23rd. So his show will be first, my show will be second. So I sent out an email to all the other designers to book that week at the library. If they all booked a day at the library, that would be a week of shows. That would be Fashion Week in itself. All you need is a PR person to hype it. But none of them have done it. So I'm like, and I tried this last February and I tried it this February, but after a while you got to say, my hands are up.
Right. Right.
I'm just going to do what I have to do for me, which is sad, but crabs in a barrel, just crabs in a barrel.
So family, we're here with Douglas Says. Welcome to Harlem Roots and Beyond. And the book Muse is just a wonderful. It's a quick read for those of you who are into fashion and love photography. Wonderful. And it's kind of cool that Douglas has, he talks about models. So one side is Douglas talking about the model and how they met in their collaborations and work. And then the other side is the model talking about Douglas and how they met in their collaboration. So it's pretty sweet. What I'd like to do, Douglas, is we're going to do the one-word response. So I'll give a name, and then you just give me one word. First thing that comes to mind about this person.
Okay.
Okay. Let's go with Rosemary Kuzar Abdunafi. Kuzar Nafi.
Mm-hmm. So.
One first thing that comes to mind, Rosemary.
Classy.
Luciera.
Adventuresome.
Tracy Norman.
Goddess.
Harmonica Sunbeam.
Funny.
I'm scrolling through the book, family, so bear with me. There are a couple of male models. We haven't really talked about. That's something I'd like us to talk about a little bit. Male models, because you do women's wear, so you don't get to work with brothers that much.
Right, but I am starting to do menswear as well. So yeah, I mean, there was a long, many years of insecurities. That's when I wasn't doing plus. That's when I wasn't doing menswear. So now I've surpassed that, and I'm open. So now I'm doing it all. So.
Difference in doing menswear and women's wear.
Wow, menswear is much more detail driven. You have all the pockets, you have all the zippers, you have all, you need a lot of details. You really need to be a tailor to do menswear, but the thing with menswear is, for me, for the longest time, it didn't have a draw for me because I didn't find men to be adventuresome. They just were just stuck into gray. And gray suits and navy suits,
blue pinstripes.
Exactly.
Right.
There was no adventure. But now, it's opened up more. But I still don't think that men buy clothes, as much as women do. So.
I guess if a man gets a great suit, a great pair of shoes, a couple of ties, maybe.
Exactly.
Some cufflinks, he's good. A woman really does like to put on more.
Exactly, because the ties change the suit. A shirt and a tie, you can wear that same suit, all week. Just different shirts and ties.
Then, interestingly, I find that, the men that I know seem to shop all the time. Now, I don't know what they're buying necessarily, but they're always shopping. I'm going to pick up something. But I guess it's a different kind of pickup than what a woman would be picking up. A woman goes and gets an outfit, and a guy may be going to get a hat or a scarf or...
Are they gay men or straight men?
Thank you. Straight, actually.
Really? Okay.
Shop, I think, a lot.
Okay.
For a man, you know.
Okay.
But I've never gone shopping with a guy, so I don't know what they're buying. But I see guys all the time with bags. You know, years ago, you never saw men carrying lots of shopping bags. It was a woman's thing to do. You know, a bag from Saks, a bag from Bloomies, a bag from Macy's. Now I see men, you know, coming off the train with so many different bags, and I wonder what's in them.
Well, we know they have a fetish for shoes and sneakers.
Yes.
You know, that they always buy, you know. I mean, I know some people who have, like, floor to ceiling sneakers, which is just ridiculous, you know. But hey, to each his own.
To each his own. So how can people get a hold of this wonderful book, Muse?
Well, you can buy it online. You can go to first of all, if you Google me, you'll find a Muse. That's usually the first thing that pops up, and you can buy it from blurb.com. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. So, a question coming from my producer.
Okay.
Is with respect to photography, because you do it all. You do makeup and hair, and you do the design.
Well, actually, I don't do hair.
You don't do hair,
and I don't do photography. I mean, photography only in the sense that, you know, I do the Polaroids of my looks.
Got it.
And hair, actually, I just like a couple of weeks ago did hair for really like the first time.
Really?
Yeah.
All these years.
Yeah, and it was amazing. No, actually, my friend James Harris, who's a major hair person, he usually does the hair for my shows, and he's been around forever, and he's done everybody that there is to do, you know, from Celia Cruz to Vanessa Williams to Diana Ross to Patti LaBelle, everybody. And he actually is writing the foreword for my new book, The Red Dress. And, you know, and I'm so blessed that he works with me, you know. A great guy. But I've watched him, because a lot of, like, he works for Clairol, and they do this thing on the road where they do, I actually do the collection for them, and they take the clothes on the road. So, you know, that's a great union, a great pairing that he and I have. So I'm sitting there watching him do the hair while, you know, before they get dressed, and I'm just watching him do all the hair. So eventually, you know, I'm going to try that. And that's what I did. So it came out really good.
When you put together a collection, what's that process look like? And I know this is probably not a one sentence answer for you, but you may have an idea of what the dresses will look like. But then doesn't hair and makeup come into play? And
well,
at that time, or how does that process happen?
Before James Harris, I would conceal the hair. I would, you know, do some kind of hair wrap, like, but all the girls would be uniformed, you know, be a satin wrap or a gauze wrap, but, you know, the hair would be covered because it wasn't about the hair. It wasn't a hair story, you know. Or I would just tell all the girls to come with a ponytail, you know, just snatch back in a ponytail, so that it would be uniformed, because, again, it's not about the hair. But when you have a hair master like James Harris and Johnny Gentry, who both work with me on my shows, you know, the sky's the limit. And basically, I let them do whatever they want to do because they're masters, you know. And
it's going to complement what your vision anyway.
They know exactly what I do, you know, and so they punch it up, and, you know, it's cool.
Talk about Fashion Week. September here in New York City is Fashion Week. And for the average person like myself who looks at fashion from a distance, we just see all these great collections come, you know, in the news. We see these runway collections,
right.
But the hustle and bustle of backstage and getting the models ready to hit, and give us a glimpse of what that looks like, what that energy is like backstage.
Wow. Well, I work backstage as a supervisor for Audrey Smalls and the Ground Crew, and her company is like 30 plus years old, and she's like one of the founders of backstage dressing. And what we do is possibly like the wheels on a vehicle. You know, you couldn't move without us, because you think, oh, it's just a fashion show, you know, they're just putting on clothes, but the adrenaline, it's just so chaotic and crazy backstage, and the designers who we're usually working for, which are the top designers, you know, Michael Kors, Donna Karan, Vera Wang, Lacoste, on and on, Bill Blass, Oscar de la Renta, whatever. This is a make it or break it moment every season, you know, every season. So it's great to be at the trenches of fashion right there, seeing what is coming out, you know, and seeing who, model-wise or designer-wise or clothes-wise, is coming out. And normally, like, if a model has 3 looks, like 3 passages, like she's walking 3 different times, you know, the looks are numbered. Like, she might come out, say she's one of the top girls. She might be number 1, number 14, and number 20. So a model can't be left to her own devices, because she might put on 20 before she's supposed to put on 1. Or she might put on 1 shoes with, you know, so that she doesn't have to even think about that. All she has to do is just kind of stand there.
So you guys are doing almost like continuity on the run, you know,
exactly.
Making sure that you memorize the look. The look is in front of you, probably, right. On a look board. A look board.
Yeah.
Ah, thank you. I'm learning. A look board. See, family, I'm learning.
And all the details are
all the details,
down,
just in case something happens.
And they go around and they tell you everything, and they go over everything, and you know, it's a major production. It's a major production.
You know what I think about when I think about backstage at a fashion show, especially for Fashion Week? Mm-hmm. You know, NASCAR. Mm-hmm. So there's a moment when they go into the pit and they're changing the tire and they're doing this and they're putting more air in it, and everything happens in a split, and then they're back out.
That's it, right there. That's exactly what it is. It's just like that. It's crazy. It's really crazy.
And interestingly, from the person looking at it, everything is so smooth.
Exactly.
And everything is effortless.
But it's anything but that, you know. And what always amazes me is that when I do my show, because, you know, you don't have the same money that they have, you know, but all of those jobs, I mean, it's tons of people backstage who, you know, from the hair team, the makeup team, the dressers, the production people. I mean, it's packed, security, everything. It's celebrities. It's crazy. Dress is crazy. And when I do my show, all of those jobs I do myself, you know, the production, the lineup, you know, all of that. I've even done makeup, you know. So you don't want to do everything, but sometimes, you know,
you have to do it.
Your
right?
budget doesn't afford.
Right. No, your budget calls the shots, right?
Exactly.
So, with respect to tension in the industry, worst case scenario. So, you're smiling at that.
No, I'm smiling at the typing on the screen.
Right. I'm trying to think of how to put this question together. So, okay. So you have a model that you're working with, and, you know, she's a diva, because we all have run into those.
That's happened.
And, you know, she says, look, I'm here. I've arrived. And, you know, you're like, yeah, you're here, and let's get to work. And immediately you feel that, oh boy, you know, I'm dealing with this diva for the night, and I have to deal with several, probably. Mm-hmm. How do you get past that moment when you go, you know what, girl, listen, we got to do this. We have work to do. Put that aside.
Hopefully they can, but I would just ask the supervisor to change me, to give me another girl, because it's not working. It's not gonna work.
Has that happened?
Oh,
where you had to change girls?
Oh, yes.
On the evening of a show, even where you're gonna.
Yeah, I mean, well, see, you know who you're getting beforehand. Like if I'm supervising, you know, I may say, okay, you're gonna have Naomi, you're gonna have Tyra, you know, like that. But if you already know, like, okay, I'm not gonna say anybody's name. Like, you know, some girls are problematic girls.
Yes.
You know, and You know,
they don't get out of bed for less than something or other. You know,
so
it's rumored that they said that. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Those girls.
Those girls.
You know, so I mean, there's been girls who are like, don't touch me. I'll do it myself. You know, you got all kinds. You know,
and how does that affect the morale of the team? And
well, you know, we're professionals. They're professionals, but you know, sometimes you're dealing with a 15-year-old, a 16-year-old, or you might be dealing with somebody who's closer to the end than the beginning of their career. So it depends, you know. It depends. It's, you know, it's life. You know, it's life. Most of these shows are early in the morning, and they're there earlier than, you know, we are. As you read, they don't eat very well, you know. I mean, because most of the time, what they have there on the buffet table is like, you know, you got some bread, you got some fruit, you know. So it's a little, you know, it's a little crazy.
Yeah, I guess that hunger, anger, we call it. You know, the girls are hungry and they can't eat. So yeah.
And they can't smoke.
And they can't smoke.
You know, 'cause back in the day they could smoke it back. You know, they could smoke backstage.
Yeah.
They can't smoke now, and you can't go out.
Isn't that something? New York has changed quite a bit.
Yeah.
So, family, we're here with Douglas Says, and we are going to be wrapping up this interview in a few moments. Please Google him. That's been our inside joke this evening. You know, Google him, Douglas Says, and find out how you can get his book. It's on blurb.com. That's where I got my copy. And we will be, I'm hoping, invited to the show in February. I would love to come and do some interviews. And,
I would love that.
Oh, that'd be great. My first fashion show, you know, hanging out. Your new book.
Yes.
Let's wrap up with that.
Okay.
A red dress?
The red dress.
The red dress?
Yes, the
Talk
red
about
dress.
that.
Well, you know, it's interesting. I started shooting the red dress in 1991, and I actually made the dress in 87. And I sat on it for a long time. You know, I didn't do anything with it. When I originally did it, the pictures, I was doing it for it to be a calendar. I wasn't thinking big. Joel Osteen says you got to think big because God will give you big, but you just got to ask for it. So, you know, so one day I said, you know, and it's funny because in a Muse, I close out the book with the red dress. But I went back in, like, for the book, I shot more girls that I hadn't got around to shooting, you know, in the 90s. And because it's a different time, I had to work a little bit harder because I don't have, you know, the luxury of airbrushing and being able to put a girl in a certain location that she's not actually in. So I had to make it exciting. I had to make the images exciting. So that's a test of my creativity and talent, you know. So, you know, all the makeup is done by me. All the styling is done by me. Pretty much everything's done by me, you know. But in the book, there are at least 3 different makeup artists that I allow to do one girl, like, you know, different girls. Tracy is one of the makeup artists, as well as she's also one of the models in the book. So far, it's been 30 girls that have been shot in the same red dress. So it's an accessory story. The whole thing, the dress isn't even the same because it changes every time. So it's always the accessory, the hair, the makeup, the location. So everything changes down to the buttons on the dress every time it's changed. The dress has been shot frontwards, backwards. It's been shot in Paris. It's been shot in London. It's been shot in Harlem. It's been shot in Weehawken. It's been shot in Central Park. You know, in a boat. It's you know, it's been all over. And I had the notion as I was going back in to do it. Well, I had decided, like, I did this little video montage kind of thing on something else, and then I was telling my friend who put it together for me, I was like, oh, I want to do one with the red dress. I'm going to just, and then I said, well, why don't you just do another book? So I was like, hey, yeah, that's a good idea. So, you know, I went back in and started shooting. So, and then, like, in the red dress, there's a picture with Rosemary and her daughter. And, you know, her daughter's a newborn baby at the time, so she's holding her. And then I thought, oh, it would be great to shoot Nazara, that's her daughter's name, Nazara in the red dress now. So I shot Nazara in the red dress, because Nazara's 20 now. So then my mind started speaking. I was like, well, Sherry's got a daughter, Raj has got a daughter, Kim has got a daughter. So I shot all of their daughters in the same dress that they wore. So, you know, it's you know, it's almost like it's passed down from your mother to you, you know. And so that was another chapter. And lastly, I added a chapter which I wanted to see what other designers or illustrators would do with the red dress to make it look different. So I reached out to several different illustrators and designers and let them like sketch the dress, like give, you know, new ideas. So that's a whole nother thing in the book.
Wonderful. Looking forward to it.
Thank you.
I want to thank you so much for coming by.
Thank you.
Spending time with us here in the studio. Here with Douglas Says family. Please be sure to pick up a Muse and look forward to the red dress.
And my February 23rd show.
Oh, February 23rd, 2013. Coming through.
That's it.
Coming through.
That's it.
Thank you so much, hon.
Thank you. Thank you both.
So, family, be sure to check out segment 1 of the interview with Douglas Says, and we're wrapping up segment 2 in a few moments. And so, do I have a moment before we wrap?
You got 10 seconds.
Okay, good. So we just wanted to say to everyone listening that being in the midst of greatness, you never know. So don't let people get you down and tell you what you can't and cannot do. You can do whatever you want to do. If you can dream it, you can make it happen. Peace. DouglasSays.com.
Harlem Talk Radio brings you news and information at stimulating talk radio on the Harlem community. We cover business, education, entertainment, health, politics, technology, finance, and lots more.